In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to stand out from your competitors. What's happening, sales ascenders? So glad that you're here. Today is Tuesday. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope the week is off to an awesome start. Today we had a great question that came in from Robert, and let's just jump right into it. Are you ready? Because I'm ready. Let's go. The question is this. He says, Sean, how do I stand out from my competitors? Great question. Lots of different ways to stand out from your competitors. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 methods or 3 questions that you can answer for yourself in order to truly set yourself apart from your competitors and be the person that sticks in your prospect or your client's memory forever. First of all, why is it important to even stand out from competitors? When I was speaking with Robert said this. He said, man, I feel like I'm in a commodity type space. He's a professional sales professional, and he works for a big copy company. And basically all the competitors that he's got, they provide these big $100,000, $500,000 solutions to their clients. But there's only a handful of like 5 or 6 people that actually sell these solutions to people. So he said, well, how do I become the number one that stands out from everyone else? And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, well, there's really kind of 3 questions that you got to answer yourself. So let's get into the question. First and foremost, here we go. Do you have a unique perspective, right? So if we're thinking about a unique perspective, what's interesting about having a unique perspective is people remember unique perspectives. So for example, the first question you ask yourself, how do you stand out from your competitors? This is how. Do you have some sort of a background? Like in Robert's case, he was a professional baseball player for 6 years. In 6 years playing baseball, he has probably so many analogies, so many little stories that he could add in to make points, right? And so if you have a unique perspective, you can become known, you can stand out from your competitors. For example, in Robert's case, he could always just bring in baseball analogy, baseball analogy, baseball analogy, baseball analogy. And what will happen with his prospects and his clients is they'll start remembering, oh, we need a copy solution. I want to talk to Robert because he's the baseball guy and he always talks my language in sports. And so if your prospect or client loves sports and he's a good baseball thing and he starts dropping analogies, look, he's not going to get out of your memory. And that's how you create a unique perspective. Secondly, maybe you have some other life experiences that you can bring to the party. Maybe you have an angle on something that other people haven't heard of before. I always like to share things like, hey, in my life, I was a professional long driver for 5 years. I have a lot of stories that I can bring into that. That's interesting. That's a unique perspective on, hey, I came from this world and now I'm in this world. This is the perspective from that world that I had. People remember those differences. And that's one way that you can stand out very, very simply. The second way to stand out is, have you mastered storytelling? Everybody remembers a great story. And so if you haven't remembered a great story, there's a book called Long Story Short by Margot Lietman, and I'll drop it in the comments below. But that book is about 250 pages, and each little page of that book has, here's how to become a better storyteller. Here's how to become a better storyteller. Why? Because people buy from people buy from people they like and they trust. And so if you need to stand out, if you can come in there and you can tell a whiz-bang killer story about anything that relates to your business and what you're doing, and it's beyond and above what other people can tell stories about. Look, I speak to hundreds of sales professionals all the time. And one of the things that I hear all the time is I say, well, tell me your backstory. How'd you get here and why are you here today? And what are you trying to accomplish? And I always hear the same thing. It's, well, I've done this, and I'm here, right? And when I tell my story, I share, well, it all started back 20 years ago when I came out of college and I had this problem and I asked this question. And then I was like, what do I do? So I called the first person. You see, I'm already telling the details of how I solved the problem for myself. And this, like I studied Russell Brunson. If you haven't studied him, go grab .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, specifically Expert Secrets. It teaches you the storytelling framework that can really help. Of course, that other book by Margot Lietman is Long Story Short, will teach you how to tell stories. And that's like the only ones that you really need to read, because at the end of that, you'll have a very good understanding of a filter that you can use when you tell stories. Russell talks about what they call the origin story, or the hero's 2 journeys that came from Michael Hogue. And Michael Hogue talked about, you've got the transformation that you have in person, but also in the flesh where everybody can recognize and see it. But then you also have a transformation internally where you grow personally. And when you can share those 2 pieces of any story, and it gets to the place at the end where it says, well, we achieved this, and the actual biggest transformation was this, right? In my case, it was, I went through this, I found there's a problem about sales. People didn't like to sell, or they didn't have a system to help grow their sales. And so I have some story that rolls into one of the things that I did for myself was I had to figure it out. So I spent all this money and I figured out what I was doing wrong. I didn't even understand there was a science behind sales. There's a structure, there's a format. And once you understand the framework, you can lay your art or your story on the top of it. And then now you can move forward and drop saying, well, this is what I discovered. This is what I discovered. And it's always bring the user, the client, the prospect back to your story so they can walk in your moccasin, so to speak. And when you can do that effectively, you will become memorable every single time. Because when you tell good stories, people say, oh man, do you remember that one story that he told, right? And if you're looking for stories to help you, I'm not super religious at all, but I will say the Bible has a tremendous amount of great stories. It's actually just a collection of stories. If you ever read the Bible before, they have lots of great points and lessons, and you can take some of those concepts. You could use them if you wanted. I typically don't go that way because I have so much life experience and the unique perspective from question number one. And last but not least, how do you stand out from your competitors? What results did you get for yourself and others, right? One of the major things that stands out for everybody is what are the results that you've gotten for yourself? What are the results that you've gotten for other people? Why? Because they're at the place where they're like, oh, he did it for himself and now he's helped other people. He can probably help me. That's the feeling that you want to convey during your meetings, during your conferences, during whatever you're doing, webinars and anything. And you can share, hey, these are the results I got for myself, and this is what I've actually been doing for clients. And one of the things that I share is like, hey, we did this for ourselves multiple times, figured it out, and we figured out there's a bigger problem. People didn't have this one piece, which I thought was kind of easy to get. And I was like, oh, and then we put this system in place in their business, and boom, here's the results they got. Boom, here's another example. Boom, here's another example. And it reminds me kind of where you're at right now, right? All of a sudden that person's like, whoa, this person got all these results for himself. Now he's got all these results for all these clients, and now he's going to get them for me. And then if you have the ease of here's some referrals you can call and check them out and see if they actually, that's the results they got. And that's it. So if you want to stand out, first and foremost, have a unique perspective. Like figure out what you brought from your past into the world. Secondly, you got to master storytelling. So if you haven't done that yet, go read Expert Secrets, go read Long Story Short by Margot Liebman. And lastly, what results do you get for you and what results do you get for others? Now, if you haven't gotten results yet, that's okay. The thing that you want to think about is, how do I get results for myself in a way that people will say, ooh, those are good results. And then you just stay focused on that. And when people are saying, well, what are you up to? What are you up to? Well, actually, my business is working towards doing this. And I'm well on my way. A lot of other people that are following my journey, not sure if you're in that space where you're needing to get these results too, but I'm definitely going to get them shortly. If you'd like to follow along, jump on board. And this is the way where if you don't have results, you can actually pull them in your direction and you can give them the confidence. Because here's what I'll tell you for sure. Confidence, conviction, that's the number one attribute of a great or an amazing sales ascender. You got to be convicted about what you're selling. Secondly, you got to have the persistence. You just got to, if no matter what, you just keep going and keep going towards the end goal. And lastly, you got to have the consistency, getting up every day and doing the activity. And we have those three things. And then you master a unique perspective. You're good at storytelling and you've gotten results. Like there's nothing else that anyone can ever say to you that says, oh man, I shouldn't work with you other than I just don't like you. And that's fine. There's going to be a lot of people in the world that don't like me, and that's cool. I get it. But there's a lot of other people that love me. And so I'm just going to work with the people that raise their hands saying, Sean, I really respect and like what you're doing. And I think you can get results from me. Let's go. And then we go get them results and then they're happy. And that is what I will share with you today for how to stand out with your competitors. I think it's a great question. So if you have any comments about this, please drop them below. Happy to share that or an answer in anything that we do. And remember, guys, you just got tuned up today about standing out in front of your competitors. Smash that subscribe button. Make sure to turn the notifications on. And I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.